Joining us today is Jeff Platenberg, Assistant Superintendent of Facilities and Transportation Services. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
Glad that you could be here today. Why don't we start off by talking about the weather? We had a pretty brutal winter last year that resulted in a number of snow days. What factors do you consider when determining whether or not to close school because of inclement weather?
Well, that's a good question. We did have a brutal winter last year, and it's not looking to be any better this year. But first and foremost, the one thing I look at is student safety. Really, that's at the foremost of in my mind when I make any determination. There are a lot of things that go into when I make a determination, a lot of factors that I take into account, but really it's first and foremost student safety.
And now, because the county is so large, sometimes you hear from parents asking if it's possible to close only portions of the county, the ones that are most affected by bad weather. What are your thoughts on that?
In theory, it may, or conceptually, it may sound like a great idea. Why don't we do that? Because in Burke, it may not be snowing, but down in the Langley-McLean area, you know, they've got a couple inches, or out towards Herndon in the west, you know, there may be more. But it really doesn't work out that way. In reality, we've got a number of different educational programs, instructional programs that we transport our students across, and they have to get across. But in addition to our students, we have our employees. And I take into consideration their safety as well. Our teachers, our faculty, our custodians, our food service workers, a lot of folks that may live in one part of the county but work in another, or may even live outside of our county.
Well, we certainly hope that this winter will be a little kinder, even though you just said it may not be. But what can parents do now to prepare for the inevitable school closing?
Well, I think they can get familiar with our website. The Fairfax County Public Schools has great information, even FAQ, frequently asked questions section that they can look at. You know, when it's a perfect scenario, I'm up at usually about 2:30 in the morning, and I'm generally on a COG Council of actually Council of Governments around here, a COG conference call at 3 o'clock, where we have over 196 different individuals that are on that call at 3 a.m. in the morning. And when you have VDOT, DDOT, MDOT, you have the rail, you have the airport authority for both Reagan and Dulles, you've got the Office of Personnel Management for the federal government. When all of those folks are on the line getting briefed by the National Weather Service, we then make our determination based upon their forecast and their percentages, their percent chance that precipitation may happen. Now, they've gotten much better. They've gotten much better over the years, not only in their percent accuracy in their forecasting, but actually in the regionalization of where it may occur and the timing of it. But really, folks being involved in getting themselves signed up for the Keep in Touch, and then familiarizing themselves with our website that talks about our decision points and when we make them. Because of the improved accuracy, I've tried to make those calls in advance of. Like, if I can make them the night before, I know a lot of people think that, you know, who does he think he is? How can he make that forecast? How can Fairfax County Public Schools make a determination when there's no precipitation coming down? But it's because of that regionalization. It's because of the experience, the unfortunate experience we've had in the past, where over the past 5 years we've had 3 years where we've had 11 or more days of canceled school because of inclement weather. All of that has prompted all of the agencies, local governments and so on, to get better at predicting and coordinating and communicating that message. So following the website, signing up for the Keep in Touch, that's probably the best way that parents can do it, and then figure out alternative plans for themselves. If they have to get in work, talk to their neighbors, talk to their friends, have a buddy system for themselves, just like we expect of the students, for when they do have to go into work or something like that during those difficult weather days.
Okay, that's great tips. Let's move on to later start times. Okay. The Fairfax County School Board recently approved the recommendation to start school a little bit later for high school students, but also for secondary and middle school students. Now that means that the bell schedule is going to change. Yeah. Now, what role does transportation services play in determining the new bell schedule?
Well, transportation is really a hinge pin, is a critical role in the bell schedules. And the reason being is we have the largest school bus, publicly owned and operated school bus fleet in the country. And when you have 1,544 buses, and you have the number of students that we have to transport on a daily basis, the only way to make that as efficient as possible is to go ahead and tier the bell schedule system. You know, keep in mind, we've been through some serious financially difficult times. And during those times, the school district had cut over 200 buses since 2009. And during that time, we have grown immeasurably by the number of students that we serve. So we really have been working both ends towards the middle. It makes it even more challenging to get schools to start all on the same time, which is obviously desirable. Because we have approximately 141 elementary schools, you're going to have more tiered times and a longer band of starting times for the elementary. But keep in mind, the school board voted for the later high school start time for the high schools and the secondary schools. And they wanted to go ahead and move middle schools a little bit, because what we really did, out of all the options and all the community engagement that we provided, all of the feedback we got over 1,000 emails that were posted on our web about people's opinions and what they thought. We went ahead and broke them down into different categories, and the school board finally approved for that later high school start time for approximately 8 o'clock for the high schools, and it's going to be 8 or 8:10 depending on the high schools or secondary schools. And we really just kind of flipped with the middle schools. And the desire of the school board was, can we push back the middle schools any further? And the community said, please don't change the elementary schools. So we made a commitment to the public where we would change the elementaries 5 to 10 minutes from where they are. But because we had all of the media exposure, all the publicity, and because we were so transparent, I think it brought to people's forefront that there were these changes that were going on, and because we made the commitment of trying to minimize the impact on as many students as possible while improving the condition for the secondary students, the high school students.
Okay. So when will parents know about these new bell schedules? Any sort of time frame that you can give us?
Excellent question. We said initially early spring, and I've been promising sometime in mid to late January I'll be having a draft to publicize. We're still working through that. We're trying to minimally impact our community. We have to keep running our routes. We've run over 36, really closer to 40-some different routing mechanisms, which really takes a long time to do in trying to improve and minimally adversely impact folks. So I'm trying to get the information out there. We understand it's a change. Change is difficult to begin with. And then when you extend it across a district as large as Fairfax County, the challenges it's fraught with challenges. So we're trying to get that information out, trying to communicate with parents. We've committed to where we can, working with them, whether it be suggesting alternatives, connections we might have about daycare, whatever we can do to help assist and minimize the impact on them and their families.
It's a very busy time of the year. It's capital improvement plan time. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it is. The CIP really drives a lot of what we do facilities. We have 27 million square feet of physical plant that we own and operate and maintain. Out of that, we've got 2.5 million square feet of work going on right now. So on any given year, we basically have a huge portion underway of renovative work. It really is close to $500 million worth of construction work. The Capital Improvement Plan is a program where we come before the board, we show where the growth trends are, we identify the priorities of projects, and really that's the engine that drives any boundary adjustment or any potential referendum that goes before the public. We've been very successful being good public stewards of the public trust and their funding, and have a really long track record of gaining support for our bond referendum and the funding of our renovations. We really are behind because we've been growing so much that we're not able to keep up with the school board policy because we have these constraints that have to do with our AAA rating that we're so proud of here in Fairfax County. But we're working within those constraints, and as I said, it's a lot of work going on. $500 million worth of work, 2.5 million square feet under construction, all the while we're educating students.
All right.
It's challenging.
It sounds it. It sounds it. Thanks so much for filling us in today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.